If you're Kenyan, you're probably conversant with the month of August being thought of as one of the darkest months in the Kenyan history. I think the founding father died in the month of August. Our truck was set ablaze, I think, in the month of August, and many people lost their lives. So August has often been associated with heinous things happening in Kenya. And so this one cold winter night at the tail end of July, when I was living in Cape Town, I found myself kneeling and praying, begging God that nothing bad should happen to my mother who was ailing back at home. For some reason, I couldn't pray for her recovery. I was just saying, God, please, we're going into August. Please let it not be another statistic. I'm not given to superstition at all, but that was my prayer. And God was so gracious. So on the first day of September, I got a text from my sister from back home, and it simply read, "We've lost her." And we are not going to be talking about death. Good evening, my name is Eric. This is Eric Stories. Is it your first time? Thank you so much. And are you a regular? All the love, all the love. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel. I really thank you in advance. On the second day of September, I came back to the country. Of course, I left my house in the wee hours of the morning, went to the airport. I was trying to be so stoic, I had all my manliness. I was trying to be a man's man. And then I sat in the coach, and the moment I sat down, my tear glands welled up, and boy, did I cry or did I cry. And one air hostess was so gracious. She came up to me and bumped me up to the business section in a comfortable corner. I think there were only two other people. And I just could have my cry in peace. So I cried for 2 hours from Cape Town to Joburg. We exchanged planes, and then I cried me more rivers from Johannesburg to Nairobi. And so when I got to Nairobi, I went straight to the hospital, and I was inquiring from the nurse what had transpired. I was just trying to have her put me up to speed about what was happening. And then she told me, what transpired when my mom departed. And so progressively, I asked to be taken to the morgue. First time ever to ever be in a morgue. Nothing prepares you for the death of a mother. So I get into the morgue, two gentlemen, very quiet, as often morgues are, reel her up to the room I was in. And she was lying lifeless on a gurney with her face covered. And I looked up sort of to motion that they should excuse me. They were very smart guys. They read the room and stepped aside. But one guy really struck me amongst the two guys. He had nicely done beards. And I was just thinking, my mother has died and you've trimmed your beards. Contradictions of life, yo. And so they left, and I was left there with my mom for a good 5 minutes, me standing, looking at her lying there lifeless, almost wearing a sheepish smile. And it really broke my heart. It really broke my heart. But that day, in that room, in that morgue, changed my life in ways I might never, ever imagine. But I know I changed. One of the things immediately I did after that, I never saw my mother again. I didn't want to look at her. I wanted to remember her like that, how I'd seen her. She was looking pretty, smiling. Yeah. I didn't want any other image. But one of the things I did, I remember sitting down and really deciding to live intentionally and deciding to choose my friends and my associations better than the people I'd surrounded myself with reason, all right? Because there was a lot of noise. If you knew me before my mother's death, and then you knew the Eric that I've now become, they're like worlds apart. I was the life of the party. I was always, with my phone ringing off the hook all the time. Now, not so much. If I'm lucky in a day, I'll get one phone call, or one phone call in 2 days. I could count with one hand and remain with so many fingers the people who I'm closest to, who I call my friend. And so I sat down after my mother's death, and I really started to interrogate and introspectively started looking at things that were important to me, because I had an epiphany that even if you live for 100 years, you are going to live and die. And so I wanted to make it count. And the conversation I want us to have today is one, hopefully, that is introspective. If you're culpable, of some of the things I will discuss. Maybe you can use the time to self-reflect and hopefully become better. I want us to have a quick chat about reasons why people, including your coworkers and family members, don't like you. Yes, I know we are told that you know what, you can't control other people. They can like you or not. That is true, but there are sometimes things we do that can send people away in the other direction because of our character traits. Our character is dirty, all right? You self-promote, Auntie Joanne. That's all you talk about. Your salon, your charmer, your buildings, your constructions, your real estate agency, and how people should buy from you. That's why during Christmas, when you pull up, people pretend they're taking their place to the kitchen, they go to the backyard, into their cars, and they drive away. Why? Because you self-promote immediately, even to people you do not know. That is not attractive. Apart from self-promoting, you ask for favors perpetually from friends and colleagues. That is not attractive. That is why people run away from you. And so I found myself really looking keenly with a microscope about people who had that character trait. All right. It must be said that I had to quickly also interrogate my own behaviors because we attract who we are. And I saw segments of these character traits that I had myself, hence inviting people with the same traits. And so I had to change and they had to go. Okay. So if you are given to self-promoting, asking for favors perpetually without ever caring to look at the other side and see what other people need, this would be a good indication as to why people run away from you. Yes, Jennifer. All right. I've learned that if you build connections before trying to ask for favors, it works best. Do you want to ask me perhaps about my wife who was held up in the hospital after a huge bill accrued after she gave birth through a C-section, and I discussed in the family group the way I was struggling to pay? Would you care to know if she gave birth to a boy or a girl before you ask me for another favor, Auntie Joanne? Would you? All right? So that's another reason. Perpetually asking for favors and self-promoting. Nobody likes that. Nobody likes that. Failure to show contrition. Please be remorseful. You've erred. You're in error. You spoke foul of somebody. You are gossiping and you're caught at it. Don't act like Idi Amin Dada when you're caught in an error. When you are, say, I'm sorry. It's only human to make these mistakes. I own up fully. I spoke ill of you. And I see how that is hurtful and is damaging to your person. I don't mean to defame you, but that was an error on my part. Forgive me. Show contrition, show remorse. It goes a long way. I discarded a lot of relationships with people who are very like, I don't care, me, I can do whatever I want. They had to go. You never ever give anything, Andrew. You know it. You take, and then take, and then take some more. At some point, it's going to show. I'm not even talking about materialism. I'm talking about resources, attention, things like, your time. If you build a relationship based on taking only, you are going to suffocate the relationship. Reciprocity has its place. Nobody wants to perpetually be taken advantage of. Sometimes people don't mind receiving. A friend of mine lost his wife, and we are very, very close. And I didn't have money many years back. I was completely out of pocket. I think at most I would put together 200 shillings. So I called him and I said, please assign me a duty so I can be of use to you. And so he said to me I should be in charge of, making sure that the burial site is up to the standard so that it's cemented and whatnot. And I went to do that. So I supervised the fundis to make sure they were not stealing or doing anything funny. And I'd attend the burial meetings every other evening. So the tale of it all, I didn't expect him to notice, but he put me aside after the burial was done and dusted with and told me, you've told me and taught me that money is not the end or be all of everything. I thank you for your time. I really thank you for your time. And that really warmed my heart. So yes, Henry, you have something you can give. Don't just be a taker. In the list, when I was really separating the wheat from the chaff of the people I called my friends, I really scrutinized who was a taker, a leech in my life, and they had to go. All right? You only call or text or email when you're in need of something. People are not foolish, Philip. I know that the reason you're calling me is because your car is stuck on Waiaki and you need me to come pull you out. That thing you said at the tail end of the sentence after pretending you're checking on me, if I have 10K, that was your real reason for calling me. And I can see through your BS. All right? So maybe create more connection instead of asking for favors beforehand. When people know you've got them down like that, then they might even move when you are in trouble. But calling only when you have trouble or sending emails, your phone calls will be synonymous with problems. So somebody sees your phone ring and they're like, because you only call when you need stuff, and that's sad. You do the list in your team, be it at schoolwork or a work team in the office, a work that you've been assigned as a team. You do the list, Jennifer. You know, people can count on you to rest. All right? People can count on you to rest. You are such a joyrider. It's your first, middle, and last name. And yet you don't commit to anything. How are people going to like you? You don't pull your weight. You are dead weight. You are dead weight. You're doing the list. Nobody wants you. That's why they don't invite you for shindigs. They don't. They can't. You are a weirdo. Don't YOLO them. You are a weirdo. You don't listen. There's a scripture I like. A foolish man delights in their own opinion and cares not to understand. Please listen to other people. Yes, you have a PhD in life. Yes, you're a Mandigo warrior. But you don't know all of life. Somebody has a perspective you've never heard of. Listen to people. Listen to people. How will you know of their interests if you don't listen? How will you know what they value if you don't listen? Somebody said something. When you don't listen to people, you can't find out what they already know. So you'll always think you know, but you just know from a linear perspective. Listen. Try it. You are arrogant. Arrogant people toot their own horn. I used to know a guy who I used to consider my friend, who'd even speak about himself in third party, who gave Nani $1 million to start the business. It is John. John being him. Arrogance is unattractive, and you cannot build any sustainable relationships when you're arrogant. All right? So check your arrogant levels. Check it. You overtake conversation, worked with somebody who used to do this. You start something, they take it. Or so the other day. Yes, the other day. Jesus. Yes, I know you know everything about PhDs and money and science and physics. Even you had breakfast with Melinda and Bill Gates in the morning before they call it quits, and you know everything about money. But please, people count for something. Their opinions count, and everybody wants to be heard. So when people are talking, don't overtake. Listen to them. Could be that's why they don't like you. All right? You brag. 2 chains and 2 watches. Thank God for your 2 watches and 2 chains. Thank God. But that's your business. You can keep it to yourself. Having said this, what are some of the ways you can win people over? These are the character traits I looked at to choose my wee circle of friends. And I decided, because I learned very quickly that I can't spread myself too thin, that I have to give people 100. And I am giving 100 to people who I know can give 100 back. All right? Be humble. Yes, Dr. Oponyo Bubo Obudu Omolo Oputu Pupu. Be humble, Omolo. That's your doctorate and all those long titles. Bless your heart, but be humble. It doesn't hurt. Be humble. Be dependable. Only do the things you've said you will do. Don't say things and don't do them. It's not a good look on you. Be dependable. Ask about people's biggest struggles and where you can help them by paying it forward. All right? The other thing I've learned, try and be authentic. I can't stand people who are inauthentic. Speaking the way you don't normally speak. Posing, don't be a poser. Also try and give credit where it's due. It goes a long way. You are working as a team or a friend did something that you didn't do. Own up to it. Just say, you know what, credit goes to you. You are the one who wrote these treatises. It wasn't me. Thank you. I think those are some of the ways we could try and become better people, so that a friend's mother doesn't have to die and then discard you. All right? But even as you're looking for that in other people, more look for those things in yourself. I did a lot of inside job after losing my mother. And hopefully it will be said of me that I became a better person. Add to the list. Good evening.